Hi guys, welcome to highschoolmaths.co.uk. Today we are going to be looking at adding and subtracting fractions, and we're going to start off with some nice simple fractions that have a common denominator. So we've got a couple of diagrams here with two rectangles split into 8 equal parts. If we represent the first rectangle as a fraction, we can say we have 3 out of the 8 pieces coloured in, whereas the second one only has 1 out of the 8 pieces coloured in. So we're going to add these two fractions together. Now the easy way to do this, and think about it, because they're all equal, because they've been split into 8 equal parts, each part is the same size in both shapes. So we can take the 1 from over here, we can just drag that over to this side, and that gives us 4 out of 8. So all we're really doing when looking at the numerical, the fractions, we're adding the top numbers together to give 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 out of 8, or 4/8. Now if we look at this shape, the 4/8, actually half of the shape is coloured in. We've got the top half coloured in, the bottom half isn't. So that simplifies to half, and the reason that works is because both these numbers here are in the 4 times table. So if we divide the top by 4 and the bottom by 4, we get 1 on top and 2 on bottom. 1 for the numerator, 2 for the denominator, or a half. Okay, so looking at a slightly more complicated example, this time the shapes are split into 10 equal parts. So here we've got 3/10 plus 5/10. And again, we could drag all the shapes over, all the coloured pieces over to one shape, but we don't really need to do that. We know if we've got 3/10 plus 5/10 altogether, we get 3 plus 5 is 8 for the numerator, tenths. They're still split into tenths. There's each part is still a tenth, so we've got 3/10 plus 5/10 is 8/10 altogether. This time they're both in the 2 times table, so we can divide the top and bottom by 2 to get 4/5 as a final answer. Okay, same idea works for subtraction. For subtraction, as long as we've got a common denominator, things work out nice and straightforward. So for the first diagram here, we've got 4/5 of the shape coloured in, minus 2/5 in the second shape. So if we take the first shape and take 2 of those coloured sections away, 4/5 take away 2/5, 4 take away 2 is 2, so we're going to end up with 2/5 of the shape coloured in. And this time it doesn't simplify, sometimes it won't, but these aren't in the same times table, so we can't simplify this anymore. Okay, so what happens then if you've not got a common denominator? Well, if you've not got a common denominator, it's a little bit trickier, because then each of the parts you're talking about are different sizes. So for instance, for the first example here, we've got half plus 3/5. So we've got if you want to visualize this, you've got something split into halves, or into 2 parts, and another thing split into 5 parts. Each shape, each segment or each share is going to be a different size. So we can't just add the top lines together, because we're not talking about fifths and fifths, or quarters and quarters, or halves and halves. We're talking about halves for this one and fifths for this one. So we're going to have to get a common denominator, and how we do that is we're going to scale up the fractions. So we've got to look at the denominators. This one's split into halves, this one's split into fifths. We've got to find the lowest common multiple of 2 and 5. Now, if you think about the times tables, we've got the 2 times table and the 5 times table. The first number that appears in both those times tables is 10. So that's going to be our lowest common denominator. Okay, now for the first fraction, if we change our denominator, we've got to change our numerator. We're forming an equivalent fraction here. So for the first fraction, we've got a 2 in the denominator. It's multiplied by something to get to 10. So we're multiplying 2 times 5 is 10. We're multiplying the whole first fraction by 5. So 1 times 5 is 5, 2 times 5 is 10, that's our equivalent fraction. On the second fraction, we're multiplying by 2, 5 times 2 is 10, so 3 times 2 is 6. Now that we've got our equivalent fractions, we can just add the top lines together, because we have both fractions now represented as a fraction out of 10. So 5 add 6 is 11, so we're saying altogether we've got 11/10. That is a top-heavy or improper fraction, so we're going to take this and convert it to a mixed fraction. So how many tens fit into 11? 1, with the remainder of 1/10 left over. Okay, let's do the same thing for these other examples. So we've got 4 and 3 this time. So again, lowest common multiple of 4 and 3, you're going up the stations of the times table, would be 12. For the first fraction, we're multiplying by 3. 4 3s are 12. So 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. For the second fraction, 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times 4 is 8, and that's what's got our equivalent fractions. Looking at these, we've got the denominator of 12, so we've got our common denominator now. We just add the top lines together. 3 added 8 is 11, so we've got 11 over 12, which is a proper fraction and can't be simplified, because these 11 is a prime number, they're not in the same times table. Okay, subtraction works exactly the same way. As long as we've got a common denominator, then we will be fine. So looking at 6 and 8, now you've got to think, what's the lowest common denominator? So go up the 6 and 8 times table. The first number you should come across in both those times tables should be 24. Okay, so 24 is in both the 6 and the 8 times table. Now, we look at the first fraction. We multiplied 6 times 4, so multiply the first fraction by 4. 5 4s are 20. The second fraction we've only multiplied by 3 to get from 8 to 24. 3 3s, so 8 3s are 24, 3 3s are 9. And those are our equivalent fractions. This time, however, we're subtracting. So we've got fractions out of 24. So 20 take away 9 is 11. So we get 11 out of 24. Again, 11 is a prime number, so that's not going to simplify anymore. And it's a proper fraction, so we're okay there. Same idea for the last one. 4 and 7, lowest common multiple there would be 28. Going up both the times tables. The first one we multiplied by 7, so 3 7s are 21. The second one we multiplied by 4, 6 4s are 24. And here, a little bit of an unusual one, but just like when we do with negative numbers, if you have the small one take away the bigger one, then you're going to end up with a negative answer. And that can happen in fractions as well. We can have negative fraction, that's totally fine. So here, 21 take away 24 would be negative 3. So we've got negative 3 out of 28 as our final answer there. Okay, so that's how you add and subtract fractions that have the same denominator or different denominators. So that's a lot trickier when you've got the different denominator, but hopefully this little guide, this little tutorial helps you out a little bit. So thanks for watching the video. For our maths videos and resources, please visit www.highschoolmaths.co.uk. If you liked the video, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe, and please share this video.